What trees are you growing in front of and behind your house? It is quite possible that among them are some that many people avoid planting near where they live because they carry a lot of yin energy, causing the wealth in the home to keep dwindling and leaving the family without peace. The reason some trees are avoided like this is that, according to Feng Shui, the trees around a home take on 4 major roles, such as holding water, blocking wind, nourishing the veins of the earth, and dissolving harmful energy. And that is why Feng Shui has a saying that people do not live where grass and plants cannot grow, meaning only land where plants thrive is good land for people to live on. Because trees affect a home so much, choosing which ones to plant must be considered carefully. Plant the right species in the right spot, and the tree dissolves harmful energy and adds prosperous energy to the home. But when you plant the wrong species in the wrong spot, the tree itself becomes a source of harmful energy and yin energy, meaning that instead of dissolving bad energy for the home, the tree ends up creating bad energy of its own. In particular, there are 5 trees that I see many homes getting wrong. Planting them right in front of the door or out back, tending them day after day without realizing they are species you really should not plant. So which 5 trees exactly? Right now, I will share each one with you. Stay with me until the end of the video to check whether your home has any of them. Then let us find a way to set things right if you happen to have planted an unsuitable tree so your home can be full of warm, living energy once again. Number 1. Mulberry tree. I have noticed that many families, whenever there is a garden or a wide yard in front of the house, tend to plant a mulberry there, and some even plant a whole row along the path to the gate. But this is a tree that is avoided in front of the door, because in folk belief, the mulberry carries the meaning of grief and separation. When your home has a mulberry planted right at the entrance, where the whole family passes by it every single day, that sorrow and grief slowly seeps into your family's life. It leaves you and your loved ones sitting down to talk with one another less often, everyone keeping their own matters to themselves, and once the meal is done, each person retreats to their own corner. And once your husband and wife and children no longer sit down to talk things over together, the big matters in the home become hard to settle. Fixing up the house, planning the business, or providing for the children's schooling, it all gets brought up and then left hanging, one person wanting it this way, another figuring it that way, and in the end, no one in the home is of one mind. And so a business opportunity reaches your hands, but the family cannot agree, and you have to let it pass, and because of that, the money can never build up. So if your home has a mulberry right in front of the door, move it far from the living area and plant it out along the fence, well away from the family's everyday living space, so that sorrow and grief can no longer affect your family. And for a tree already grown large, with a trunk too big to move, then trim its crown neatly, and do not let the branches and leaves spread out and block the front door. As for mulberry trees that have grown old, with rotting trunks and yellowed leaves, whether planted in front of or behind the house, you should get rid of them entirely, and in their place you can plant another, healthier tree. If you still like mulberry and want to grow it near the house, you can place a small bonsai mulberry in a corner of the yard or on the balcony, which helps keep the air in the home fresh. Your whole family also sits down to talk with one another more often, bringing whatever comes up to discuss together. And once your family is of one mind, big plans develop more smoothly too. And when a business opportunity reaches your hands, you seize it right away, rather than letting it slip past. Number 2, oleander. Oleander is the next tree you should think twice about planting in front of or behind the house, because this is a tree that carries poison in its body, and it is seen as creating harmful energy, meaning a sharp stream of energy that stabs straight into the people living around it. The front door is called the mouth that takes in energy, meaning the mouth through which the whole home draws in energy. Wealth and living energy all come into your home by that path, so the area in front of the door needs to be open and bright. But oleander is a dense, bushy shrub, its branches and leaves woven tightly together, blocking both the view and the sunlight, turning the space in front of your door into a damp, dark corner. And over time, that becomes a place where yin energy gathers, so the energy coming into your home can be thrown into disorder right at the threshold. Behind the house, meanwhile, is the backing of the whole home, a place that needs to be steady and dry to preserve the energy for the whole family. When you plant a clump of oleander there, that backing gets overtaken by yin energy, which gradually moves deeper into the home. That leaves the health of you and your loved ones gradually declining, so that the whole family is rarely well all year round. The older folks in the home ache often and cannot eat or sleep well. And once health declines, the money in your home goes right out the door along with it. Medicine one month, a doctor visit the next, and it all adds up to no small sum. If your business is going well but you are worn out, then you no longer have the strength to work. So the work has to be set aside and opportunities drift on by. So how can the living energy in your home return to what it was? You should pull out the oleander entirely and dig up the whole root rather than cutting straight across the trunk, or before long it will sprout and grow back. When you pull it out, remember to wear gloves and be careful. Gather up the branches and leaves you cut down and throw them away, and never burn them in the yard, nor mix them in with your firewood. After clearing it out, do not leave that patch of ground bare, but plant another tree there right away, one with no poison in its body, such as bougainvillea, a kumquat tree, or an orange tree, so that spot comes back to life. When the front of the house is open, the back of the house is dry, and sunlight reaches the doorstep, then living energy follows that path into every room. You and your loved ones eat and sleep more regularly, and your health improves. The monthly medicine costs go down, helping you set aside or build up a bit of savings to invest in the big things in your family. Number 3, weeping willow. You have surely seen a willow before, right? That kind of tree with soft branches and leaves draping down long toward the ground. In some homes, I see the willow planted right next to the gate, and in others, people keep a potted ornamental willow in a corner of the yard. This is a tree that the old folks placed among those to avoid planting around the home, because the tree tends to suggest things drifting and flowing away, and the thing flowing away is the money in your home. The larger the tree and the wider its crown, the more deeply that meaning of loss sinks into your home. On top of that, just look at the shape of the tree. While other species reach their branches up to catch the sunlight, the willow has branches and leaves that droop down below toward the ground. That downward posture was seen by the old folks as carrying a weakening stream of energy that can pull your whole family's life downward. And because of that, the money in your home slips away like flowing water. The money you earn, the moment it reaches your hands, you have to split up for one expense after another. One day, someone in the home is sick and needs medicine. The next day, something breaks and has to be replaced. And then there are weddings and funerals, none of which can be skipped. And so, year after year, you still cannot manage to set aside a single sum to provide for your family. So with this tree, you can cut it down and dig up the whole root. And for willows planted near a fish pond or a water feature, you should cut them down all the more right away. Because the water in the home is an image of wealth. And having a tree that carries the meaning of drifting away, standing right above it, casting its reflection down, only makes that meaning all the more likely to bring loss and misfortune to your home. In the bare patch of ground after removing the willow, plant a tree with an upright shape, a sturdy trunk, and a neat crown right away. The areca palm is one suitable choice, with its straight, upright form and a high crown that does not block the sunlight. Or you can also plant a pomegranate or a starfruit tree whose branches all point upward rather than drooping down like the willow. Then the money you earn can be held onto. Your income and spending are clear, and your savings can grow little by little over time. When the family has something big that needs money, you already have it in hand rather than scrambling to borrow like before. Number 4, Chinese banyan. When you grow a mature Chinese banyan, you will find it completely different from the other trees in your home. Its roots usually hang down from the branches, and wherever those roots reach, they take hold. Layer after layer like that, the roots of the Chinese banyan blanket, the whole corner of the yard, and on some trees they even spread all the way to the wall at the base of the house. In Feng Shui, a tree with such a grasping habit is seen as one that drains the energy from the whole patch of ground around it. When you plant it right in front of or behind the house, the home itself gets its living energy drained away. So you and your loved ones living inside do not get to enjoy the good energy that should be spreading through the home to grow and flourish. What is more, once the Chinese banyan's crown grows large, it spreads out wide with thick, dense leaves, blocking nearly all the sunlight below. Plant it in front of the door, and it blocks the bright hall, meaning the open space in front of the house where good energy gathers before coming in through the door. Plant it behind the house, and it blocks the home's backing, leaving that area damp all year round and starved of sunlight. But the most notable thing about this tree lies in its roots. The roots of the Chinese banyan are very strong, spreading far through the earth, winding and finding their way along. Especially when you plant it straight into the ground out in the yard, wherever the roots reach, the yard cracks, the fence gets pushed out of line, and sometimes they even reach the foundation of the house. And each time that happens is another time you have to spend money on repairs. Today, you patch a cracked section of the yard. Next month, you rebuild a stretch of fence pushed askew. And then it is the underground water pipe cracked open by the roots. A little each time, and added up over the year, it becomes a large sum. And it is all money you never planned for. So if your home has a Chinese banyan planted in the ground, whether in front of the gate or out back, you should dig it out while the tree is still not too large. The longer you wait, the deeper the roots go. And by then, even if you want to remove it, you have to dig up a whole section of the yard, which costs you far more. And if you still want to grow a Chinese banyan, then grow it as a bonsai in a pot. A ceramic pot set up on a high stand keeps the roots bound neatly inside so they cannot dig into the ground. Once a year, you change the soil, trim the old roots, and cut the crown neatly, which both keeps the tree in a beautiful shape and keeps it from affecting your home. Also remember not to set the Chinese banyan pot right up against the front door or the bedroom window, but instead keep it in an open corner of the yard where sunlight reaches. That helps your yard become steady again. The money you have long had to spend on repairs, you can now gather for your long-term plans. And with sunlight reaching the yard in front of and behind the house, keeping it dry and bright, living energy can come into the home and gather, helping your life and your work go more smoothly. Number 5, banyan tree. In folk belief, this is a tree seen as a dwelling place for the spirits, so it is usually planted at communal temples, pagodas, and shrines, and few people bring it home to plant in the house. Because places of worship usually have a quiet, solemn air, while a family's home needs warmth, needs the sound of talk and laughter, needs people coming and going each day. So bringing a tree that belongs to places of worship home to plant right in your own yard is something the old folks always warned to avoid. On top of that, once a banyan's crown grows large, it blankets a whole area, so dense that standing under it at high noon feels as shady as late afternoon. When your home sits under that crown, it lacks sunlight all year round, and yin energy, meaning that cold, gloomy stream of energy, gathers in your home just like that. When you live for a long time under a banyan's shade like that, your spirit cannot be at ease, you lose your drive for work, and you wake up in the morning unable to think clearly. The older folks in your home see their health decline more and more, and so your work stays stuck in place as well. So with this tree, cut it down if you can, and before cutting it down, the old folks advised holding a ceremony to ask permission properly, and only then taking down the tree and digging up the root. And for homes where the banyan sits outside your own land, for instance a village tree or a neighbor's tree whose crown reaches over and blankets your home, you cannot cut it down. In that case, you should ask permission from the households or the places that planted the tree to trim back the branches reaching over onto your land, widen the windows on the sunny side, or install extra lights for the yard and the rooms shaded by the tree so the inside of the home is always bright. When the home no longer sits entirely under the banyan's shade and sunlight reaches all the way to the doorstep and the porch, then the whole home is bright and the walls are dry again. Once the whole family is well and full of drive again, you have the strength and the clear mind to get the big things in the home done. In short, trees are not entirely bad, because it is only when a tree is planted in the wrong spot that the streams of energy oppose and clash with one another, turning into bad energy. The very same tree, if you plant it in a place that suits the living energy there, will grow and flourish all the better. So go check your yard, and whatever tree needs to be moved, move it. Whatever tree needs to be removed, remove it. Then plant a more suitable tree in that spot, and do not leave the ground bare. When the trees around your home are planted in suitable spots, then your home truly becomes a place where good energy gathers, helping your family stay healthy and at peace as you tend to making a living. In future videos, if there is a feng shui topic you would like me to share more about, just leave a note down in the comments. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. I wish you and your family abundant health, a warm home, and smooth sailing in all things. Goodbye, and I will see you again.